Hello and welcome to Investment Insight. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Now let's break down what's happening in the markets today in a clear and simple way. When you picture cryptocurrency security, your mind immediately goes to a Hollywood thriller.
Oh, absolutely. Like
Eh,
highly sophisticated hackers.
Exactly. You imagine these guys sitting in dark rooms, furiously typing lines of code, exploiting complex smart contracts, and just silently siphoning millions into the digital ether.
Right. I mean, it is the ultimate high-tech cat and mouse game. We've basically been conditioned to believe that the battlefield for digital assets exists, entirely inside a computer network.
Yeah. But according to recent analysis looking at the security landscape as of May 2026, the absolute biggest threat to digital wealth right now is it's terrifyingly low tech.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, just imagine you spend millions of dollars building an impenetrable state-of-the-art digital fortress. It has a virtual moat, laser grids, retinal scanners, like the absolute works.
Sounds incredibly secure.
It does. But there is a massive catch. You are the only key. Criminals have realized they don't need to waste time or resources attacking the billion-dollar digital fortress.
No, why would they?
Exactly. They just need to wait for you to walk out your front door, grab you, and threaten you with a physical wrench until you hand over those keys.
And that is exactly what we are going to explore today. Why these physical assaults, which, by the way, the industry literally refers to as wrench attacks, are just skyrocketing across the globe.
It's wild.
We are going to look at the mechanics of how syndicates are targeting everyday investors, not just the billionaires. And most importantly, we will unpack how this incredibly violent reality is fundamentally changing the economics of cryptocurrency, plus what you need to do to manage your digital portfolio safely.
Right. And for you listening, whether you're just getting your feet wet in crypto or you've been holding a bit for a while, this is crucial stuff to understand. Because, the term wrench attack just sounds incredibly visceral, almost medieval.
It does.
When we look at the data, how are security firms actually defining this in the context of modern digital finance?
So according to research from TRM Labs, a wrench attack is explicitly defined as using physical violence, the threat of violence, or extortion specifically to steal access to cryptocurrency.
Okay, that makes sense.
But what is really fascinating here is the origin of the term. It actually started years ago as a dark joke on internet forums.
Really? A joke?
Yeah. Cybersecurity experts would laugh that it was, infinitely cheaper and easier to hit someone with a $5 wrench until they surrendered their password than it was to spend $1 billion building a supercomputer to crack their encryption.
Wow. That is dark, but the logic is impossible to argue with.
Sadly, yeah, that dark internet meme has evolved into a highly lucrative criminal enterprise.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Think about traditional banking. If a crew wants to rob a massive commercial bank vault, doing it the high-tech way like drilling through 3 feet of reinforced steel, bypassing motion sensors, hacking the alarm grid, that is nearly impossible.
Almost completely impossible for an average crew, yeah.
Right. But if that same crew just kidnaps the bank manager on his way home from work and forces him to open the vault, they bypass all that high-tech security completely. And the terrifying reality of self-custody crypto is that you are the bank manager.
Exactly. You are the bank manager. And the data shows that criminal organizations have thoroughly figured out that vulnerability.
What are the numbers looking like?
Well, based on recent statistics from the blockchain security firm CertiK, in just the first 4 months of 2026, there were 34 publicly verified global wrench attacks.
34 in 4 months.
Yeah. And that represents a 41% jump from the exact same period the previous year. And the financial losses from just those 34 attacks exceeded $100 million.
Wait, $100 million in just a 4-month window?
Yes.
That is staggering.
It is. But the part that should really grab your attention is that CertiK explicitly notes this is a massive undercount.
Really? How so?
This data only reflects the incidents that were publicly verified and tied to the blockchain. The actual scale of this crime wave is likely exponentially larger. It exists in what criminologists call the dark figure of crime.
Okay, I have to pause there. If someone kicks in your door and robs you of millions of dollars, why on earth wouldn't you report that immediately to the authorities? I would be on the phone with 911 instantly.
You think so, right?
Yeah.
But it comes down to the unique and sometimes legally gray nature of cryptocurrency. Many victims actively hide these attacks.
Oh, because of taxes.
That's a huge part of it. Some do it to avoid tax scrutiny on assets they perhaps hadn't declared to the IRS. Others are highly motivated by a desire for privacy or a fear of reputational damage in the traditional business world.
That makes sense.
But even more commonly, victims are simply terrified that the criminals, who now know exactly where they live and who their families are, will come back if they go to the police.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the intimidation factor.
Exactly. And even when they do report it, local law enforcement often logs the event as just a standard home invasion or aggravated robbery. If the police report doesn't specifically note the cryptocurrency angle, well, it never makes it into the industry statistics.
That paints a really chilling picture because when we look at the global landscape, it seems like certain regions are bearing the brunt of this. Like France, for instance, has essentially become ground zero.
Yeah, France is seeing a huge spike.
According to recent reporting by CoinDesk, the French government disclosed there were at least 41 crypto-related kidnappings or home invasions in France in just the early months of 2026.
That number is incredible.
Right. If you break down that math, you are looking at one violent, targeted attack happening every 2 or 3 days.
And the operational details coming out of France highlight just how severe this has gotten. I mean, we are not talking about a quick mugging in a dark alleyway where someone snatches your phone.
Right. It's way more organized.
According to reports from AP News, French police actually had to execute a tactical raid to rescue the father of a prominent crypto entrepreneur who had been kidnapped.
Oh my gosh.
And by the time law enforcement breached the location, the criminals had already severed the victim's fingers to force compliance.
That is horrifying. They're treating this like a full-blown cartel operation.
Absolutely. The same AP report detailed that David Balland, the co-founder of the major crypto hardware wallet company Ledger, was targeted along with his wife.
Wow.
The syndicates are absolutely going after the most prominent figures in the space, but they are increasingly targeting family members as the ultimate point of leverage.
Okay, so we hear about these extreme cases in France, but what about right here at home? Because, looking at the current economic climate under President Trump, and just to be completely clear to you listening, we are strictly impartially reporting on the economic context provided in these research reports. We're not taking any political sides here, but are everyday Americans facing this same physical danger? It is very easy for a novice investor to just think, oh, that's happening over in Europe. That is an isolated problem that doesn't affect me here in the U.S.
I get why someone would think that, but the United States is seeing a severe, undeniable spike. This has fully transitioned into a domestic issue.
So it is happening here.
Oh, yeah. Based on reporting from the San Francisco Chronicle in May 2026, 3 men were federally indicted for a string of highly organized, violent home invasions stretching across San Francisco, the South Bay, and Los Angeles.
And the terrifying part of those California cases isn't just the sheer amount of money stolen, it is the social engineering they used to get inside, right?
Exactly. They completely bypassed whatever physical security the victims had.
Because they simply posed as delivery workers. Like you answer the door for a package, and suddenly these men are inside using guns, duct tape, and zip ties to completely subdue you in your own living room.
It's a total nightmare.
In one instance, they forced a victim at gunpoint to transfer $6.5 million. And in another, the victim was forced to hand over $13 million in crypto.
Yeah. And the duration of these attacks is also expanding. I can put you to a 2025 Reuters report about a particularly brutal case in New York.
What happened there?
2 men were indicted for holding an Italian man captive in a Manhattan Soho apartment. They didn't just rob him and run. They held him hostage and tortured him for 3 entire weeks, demanding his Bitcoin passwords.
3 weeks in a New York apartment?
Yes. They beat him, used electroshock, and repeatedly threatened his family. The nature of a wrench attack has shifted from a fast street robbery to a highly organized, long-term hostage situation.
Okay, let me push back here for a second and play devil's advocate. Because if you are an everyday person just getting into digital assets, this seems incredibly contradictory.
How so?
Well, the entire selling point of cryptocurrency, the feature we hear about constantly, is anonymity.
Right.
It is decentralized, it is supposedly private, and your crypto wallet isn't tied to your social security number like a traditional Chase or Bank of America account.
Right.
So how do these violent criminals even know who to target? How on earth do they find out where these anonymous wallet holders sleep at night?
This is perhaps the biggest and most dangerous misconception in the entire digital asset space.
Really?
Yeah. The anonymity of crypto is largely an illusion. Cryptocurrency blockchains are public ledgers. While your actual legal name isn't directly stamped on your wallet address, Every single transaction you make,
Yeah.
every fraction of a coin you move is completely transparent and visible to anyone with an internet connection.
Right. So to put that in perspective for the listener, imagine if every time you swiped your debit card for a coffee, anyone in the world could go to a public website, see your exact checking account balance, and trace every single purchase you've ever made.
That is exactly how a public blockchain operates.
Wow.
Now, layer that public on-chain transparency with real-world data leaks. According to the security firm Solace Global, criminals are meticulously piecing together digital breadcrumbs.
What kind of breadcrumbs?
Let's say you use a major crypto exchange, and that exchange suffers a data breach. Suddenly, your KYC data, the Know Your Customer info, like your ID, name, and home address that you had to provide to open the account, is circulating on the dark web, linked directly to your wallet address.
Oh, that's bad.
Or maybe you buy a rare digital collectible like an NFT, and you proudly use it as your profile picture on social media.
Or, you go on a podcast or jump into a public forum and casually mention the specific trades you made back in 2018 to sound smart.
Exactly. Solace Global notes that criminal syndicates actively deploy automated tools to monitor social media bragging, event attendance lists for crypto conferences, and podcast interviews.
They're scraping all of that.
Yep. They use sophisticated on-chain forensics to connect your public boasting directly to your pseudonymous wallet address. Within minutes, they knew exactly how much wealth you're holding.
And then they just look you up.
Right. Through basic internet sleuthing or purchasing data from data brokers, they find your residential address.
So you have this toxic mix of public blockchains and oversharing on social media. But, this level of surveillance requires serious technical skills. The guys kicking in doors with zip ties aren't usually the same people writing code to scrape blockchain data, are they?
No. And that brings us to the second major factor driving this trend: the evolution of organized crime. We are no longer dealing with a lone wolf computer geek looking for a clever software exploit.
Right.
Le Monde recently reported on a kidnapping near Grenoble, France, involving a judge and his elderly mother. The individuals carrying out the actual physical violence were young street gang members, just 17 to 20 years old.
Okay, so just local muscle.
Exactly. But they were recruited, paid, and directed on the Telegram messaging app by anonymous digital masterminds operating under aliases like Hermano or M5.
Wow, so this is essentially crime as a service. You have highly technical, sophisticated criminals sitting safely behind a computer screen in another country, just acting as air traffic controllers.
That is exactly what it is.
They find the vulnerable targets on the blockchain, locate their addresses, and then hire local street gangs to do the dirty, violent work of kicking in the doors.
And because the overall market capitalization of crypto has skyrocketed, especially with the introduction of regulated ETFs and major corporate adoption, the bounties are simply too high for organized crime to ignore.
The payouts are massive.
Huge. And criminals have also calculated that the easiest point of leverage isn't usually the investor. It is their family. Over half the wrench attack cases in France in early 2026 involved the victim's family members being targeted directly or used as extortion leverage.
It is the equivalent of walking down a crowded city street wearing a transparent backpack full of solid gold bars while simultaneously broadcasting your live GPS coordinates on Twitter.
That is a perfect analogy.
You might think the backpack has a really good padlock on it, but the lock doesn't matter if someone just hits you over the head with a pipe to take the whole bag.
And that physical dynamic is completely altering the broader economic landscape of cryptocurrency. We are witnessing a massive paradigm shift in how investors manage their portfolios.
So what does this all mean for the average holder?
Well, for years, the foundational cultural mantra of the crypto movement was, not your keys, not your coins.
Right. The idea being that if you leave your money on a centralized exchange, like what happened with FTX or Celsius, and that exchange goes bankrupt or gets hacked, you lose everything.
Exactly.
You don't truly own the asset unless you personally hold the cryptographic keys on a piece of paper or a flash drive in your own house. Total financial self-sovereignty.
But high net worth individuals and corporate institutions are now realizing the terrifying flip side of that philosophy. The new reality setting in is only your keys, only your physical risk.
Yeah, you're entirely exposed.
Right. If you are the sole person holding the keys to millions of dollars in your living room, you are the only person who takes the beating when the syndicate shows up at 2 a.m.
So how does that physical reality change where the money flows?
It is driving an incredible boom in institutional custody. Companies that specialize in securing digital assets on behalf of clients, firms like Coinbase Custody, BitGo, Fireblocks, Ledger Enterprise and Anchorage Digital are just seeing massive demand.
Because they offer real physical security.
Exactly. They don't just hold a password on a computer. They use complex security protocols where the cryptographic keys are broken into shards, encrypted, and distributed across geographically isolated, heavily armed physical bunkers.
You know, if you look at American history, this perfectly mirrors the evolution of the Wild West.
How so?
Think about the early pioneers during the gold rush. They found gold, and because there were no trusted institutions, they kept their gold dust hidden under the floorboards of their remote cabins. They wanted absolute control. It was literally not your floorboards, not your gold.
That is so true.
But eventually, the physical risk of outlaws riding up and burning their cabins down became completely unsustainable. So the pioneers gladly started paying secure, centralized banks to hold their wealth because the bank had thick stone walls, armed guards, and vault timers. The crypto industry is institutionalizing in the exact same way. We are moving from the digital floorboards to the institutional bank vault.
That is spot on. And alongside that shift, you have the rise of specialized insurance. Recent analysis highlighted in Fortune magazine shows a massive spike in demand for literal wrench attack insurance from companies like Anchorwatch.
Wow, wrench attack insurance.
Yeah. Investors are realizing that the true cost of holding cryptocurrency isn't just the trading fees you pay on an app. It is the cost of physical security systems, legal consulting, and robust insurance policies.
The hidden fees of self-custody.
Exactly. The self-custody premium is being heavily reevaluated. While holding your own crypto protects you from a company going bankrupt, it turns you and your family into a single point of physical failure.
So, if you are listening to this right now and you hold digital assets, this might feel incredibly overwhelming. I mean, if the syndicates are getting smarter, using on-chain tracking and hiring street gangs, how do regular people protect themselves? Hiring a 204-7 armed security detail is not a realistic option for the everyday investor.
No, of course not. But the actionable defense for the everyday holder actually relies on a very simple structural principle. You must completely eliminate the possibility of immediate withdrawal.
Okay, so take the speed away.
Yes. You have to break the criminal's business model. But the very first barrier requires zero technology. It is simply about reducing your digital footprint. You must stay quiet.
It sounds obvious, but in a culture built around flexing wealth, it is surprisingly rare. Do not post screenshots of your portfolio gains. Do not put laser eyes on your profile picture. Do not share your wallet addresses publicly to receive tips.
Right, and if you attend crypto conferences, maintain a low profile. Do not wear branded merchandise to the airport. You have to remove yourself from the radar.
But if someone does target you, despite all that,
The mechanical barrier comes down to how you structure your accounts. The primary tool here is utilizing multi-signature wallets, commonly known as multi-sig.
what exactly is that?
A multi-sig setup is an account that requires multiple, separate cryptographic keys to authorize a transaction.
I can already hear the frustration from the listeners. Wait, so I need to go to a safety deposit box just to move my crypto? But that sounds like a complete nightmare for user experience.
It does add friction, absolutely. But that friction is exactly what saves your life.
What's the point?
You can configure a multi-sig wallet so that moving funds requires a key you keep on your phone, a key stored in a bank vault across town, and a key held by a trusted third-party security firm.
Ah, I see.
So if a criminal holds a weapon to your head in your living room, you physically cannot give them all the keys. You literally do not possess the ability to drain the account right there and then.
It is exactly like those submarine movies where the captain and the executive officer have to turn two separate physical keys on opposite sides of the control room at the exact same time to launch the missile. Neither one can do it alone.
That's it exactly.
Right.
And alongside multi-sig, you can deploy delayed withdrawals.
How does that work?
You can program the smart contracts holding your wealth to enforce a strict time delay on any large transfer.
Okay.
If someone forces you to initiate a massive transfer, the blockchain network itself will say, okay, this transaction has been requested, but it will not clear for 72 hours.
And criminals fundamentally thrive on speed and getting away clean.
Right.
If they break in and realize they have to hold you hostage in your own home for 3 days while the police are actively looking for them, their incentive to attack you drops to near zero.
Yep.
Think of the sign on the door of a late-night convenience store that says, "Clerk cannot open safe," operates on a 24-hour time delay. The robber knows that holding a gun to the cashier's head won't get them the big money instantly, so they just leave.
Perfect analogy. And the final, highly practical defense is compartmentalization. Do not keep all your digital wealth in one bucket.
Right. Don't carry it all in your pocket.
You should maintain a small, everyday wallet on your phone for daily transactions or trading. But your life-changing wealth, your long-term savings, needs to be in cold storage or institutional custody, completely disconnected from your daily devices.
Treat your everyday checking account completely differently than your deep storage retirement account. If someone steals your phone or forces you to open your everyday app, they only get the digital pocket change.
Exactly. It is all about creating layers of friction. The more friction you insert between a criminal and the final payout, the safer you and your family are.
This has been a deeply fascinating look at a side of finance that simply doesn't get enough attention. We spend so much time analyzing charts, talking about Federal Reserve interest rates, and debating blockchain code that we completely forget about the physical, real-world reality of money.
We really do. It forces a profound shift in perspective. And I think there is an incredible paradox here for the listener to mull over.
What's that?
Cryptocurrency was brilliantly engineered to be a trustless, mathematically pure system. It was designed to be immune to political corruption, safe from bank failures, and secure against the most sophisticated digital hacking on the planet.
An ultimate secure system.
But because that perfect mathematical system ultimately relies on a physical human being holding a piece of paper or a hard drive in the messy real world, the most sophisticated digital asset on Earth has inadvertently brought back the most primitive, brutal form of violent crime.
Wow.
It forces you to ask yourself, in our relentless pursuit of absolute financial sovereignty, did we accidentally turn ourselves into walking bank vaults?
What an incredible thought to leave on. Thank you all for joining us today for this essential look at market realities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button.